Trunks. Alright guys, welcome back. I have another deck for you. Today we're working through God Trunks. Probably one of your better black mid-rangey decks. Has some good tools to it. The only restriction I would say with this one is you do have to run a majority Saiyans. Not a huge deal because the best cards in the game are Saiyans, but you'll miss out on a few tech pieces here and there. For this one specifically, he's got a great activate main on his front side here. You're pitching one card to the warp once per turn and drawing two. Helps you set up for your awaken and helps you set up for your warp plays. Your awaken is when you've either got 4 life, hopefully not happening too often, or ideally when you have 5 or more Saiyans in the warp, which should be turn 2. Just to preface this quickly, if you are playing competitively, I'd really only pick up red and blue at the moment. This is a great rogue deck. You can probably do well at locals with it, but you will not do incredibly well at a big event. Again, deck has heaps of tools. You're just really outclassed at the moment. Still, nonetheless, flipping over, when you do hit that 4 life or the 5 Saiyans in the warp, you've got God Trunks on this side. Really nice art for this one. Similar effect for the draw. So when you swing this time, instead of activate main, you're pitching a card to the warp, drawing 2. He's got blocker inbuilt on him, which is relevant for you protecting your unison. It's got an auto here once per turn. When your opponent attacks a unison, can be with anything, battle cards, Zs, leaders, whatever else, your God Trunks will restand and you can block within the same window. Few other cards that don't work this way, like the new Bulma Unison in the Goku starter deck. That card gains blocker, so you can't block within the same window that you activated the auto. However, because this card already has blocker existing on the card, you can restand and block in the same window. So getting through that one quickly, you had your draw. Also down here in your activate main, if you spirit boost 1 and pay an energy, you send 2 black cards from your warp back to your drop. You can warp anything on your opponent's board, battle card wise. You don't get around barrier, but still, 1 energy. It's really relevant. Comes up a lot of the time, later game. Probably not so much early game, but removing a few threats here and there or blockers, still great. Going on to the main core of the deck. So you're starting off, you've got 4 of your Kai Unison. Really probably the only Unison you should be playing in this deck. You can run Bardock, but she's just so much better and should be cheaper too. So for this one, 2 energy, auto, once per turn. When you play a card from your warp, you're drawing a card and giving her a marker. So essentially she's a +2 Unison, because down the bottom here, when you +1, you can burst up to 3 cards from the top of your deck to your warp. Hopefully Black Saiyans, helps you awaken. And then past probably turn 2, 3, you're really not doing that anymore. But it's great, draw Unison like Bardock if you're playing stuff from the warp. Really hard to kill because your leader's a blocker, she's a +2. And she has some synergy with some of the newer cards we'll get through in a minute. But yeah, great Unison for the deck, starting off with that one. Some more Trunks specific stuff. We're running our Searcher. So tapping 1, you really don't want to be doing this, but this is worst case scenario. You're searching top 5 for either a Saiyan 4 or less, or the Unison. So if you don't open up well, this is a good backup plan to have. I would say though, hold off a turn if you can, and try and find that Unison naturally before you start tapping for this, because ideally you do want to be running your 4 sort of self-awakeners. Your either Goten here, who's coming down for 1 from the warp, bursting up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, and there's an activate battle here at the bottom, which doesn't have too much relevance. You can spirit boost to give it crit. I probably wouldn't do this. It's not worth the spirit boost. If it gained 5k and had crit, I feel like it'd be fantastic because you could compete with people's awaken sides. However, in this state, it's not really worth it. It's just there for your self-awaken. Late game, it can be some free combo power if you've got excess energy. But the better one of the two, you have your Gohan. So Gohan, blocker, same thing, coming down for 1 energy from your warp, bursting up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. So one of these two should be your ideal turn 1. You're pitching it off your leader, drawing 2, and playing it from your warp. The reason we're running 8 is because we really don't want to whiff. We're running a 60 card deck. And again, late game, it should be a free draw for you off your Unison. So turn 1, should be playing one of these. Turn 2, playing your Unison, untapping on your awaken, and then playing another one to trigger the draw. Just to quickly talk about that deck count as well. We are running 60 cards, 50 of which are Saiyans. So there really isn't a lot of room for non-Saiyans like I was talking about before. You will find you're whiffing and not awakening turn 2. Slows the deck down so much, you lose so much steam that you probably won't win those games. Super combo as well. Running Goten for this one, simply because he's a sort of sparking 5 in your warp, it's live on turn 2. You can awaken at 8 life in this deck. Most of the time I do, if I'm going first, and this is live to get you out of those doubles and stuff early. You could run Vegeta if you want, but Goten's so much better in the current format. Everyone else is awakening at 6 as well, using Beerus super combos and stuff, so why not? 2 of our Trunks, sort of the King Piccolo new ruler for the deck. So unique on this one, you can only play 1. If you've got 10 or more black cards in your warp, he gains double strike, which is great. But activate main down here, tap 1 black and spirit boost 1, you can play him from your warp. So free 1 drop, double strike, draws you a card if your Unison's online. And the boss monster for the deck, the Trunks. So God Trunks, probably one of the better boss monsters for black at the moment. The fact that he has deflect is huge because it's really slim pickings for barrier or deflect cards in black. 100% he's coming down no matter what this turn. Probably playing him on turn 3 would be the ideal turn. Tapping 2, if you have 8 or more cards in your warp, you can play him. And on his auto, every time he swings, he's putting 3 black cards back from your warp into your drop. So setting up your overwhelm really well. Talking about overwhelm as well, the main ones you want to be focusing on, your Feigned Greeting. So you've got your Vegeta here. Free 30k overwhelm, which is already great. Warps a card out of the hand when you play him as well. So Trunks really setting up this one on turn 3, and also setting up your Goku to go with it. So fusion target as well. Later on we'll get to the Gogeta. Every deck has Gogeta, but this one grabbing back between 3 and 7, there's a few really key pieces you can grab back. However, just having access to a free 30k is great. So again, like I was saying, turn 1 you want to be playing those blockers. Turn 2, Unison followed by a 1-drop. Turn 3 should be Trunks followed by a Vegeta or a Goku. And you have 1 energy up to do a few other things like negate or counterplay. The reason I would jump back into the deck, this Broly, from the Ultimate deck tour a while ago, but relevant now, it's a red card, but it counts as black in all areas. So if you charge it, you've got a red-black energy online. He's a Saiyan, so he doesn't hurt your Saiyan count. And he gives you access to the ever-popular Vegeta counterplay. So this one, coming down for 1 red energy, you've got your Broly. Anything coming in with 15 or less is going to go to the drop instead, sort of like a Denial of Hope, and you get the body and the combo power, which is great as well. Again, like I said, Saiyan, so it doesn't hurt your awakening. God Trunks doesn't care about black Saiyans, it just needs 5 any color Saiyans in the warp, so he counts. Ideally, in a game, you really only need to charge 1 Broly because you are not going to play more than 1 Vegeta counterplay in a turn most of the time. However, you don't need to see the Broly until turn 3. Vegeta's not on live until turn 3 anyway, so you can wait to charge those Brolys till later on. There is some synergy later on with the Broly as well, we'll get to. But for now, he's going there. We have some defensive stuff, so got a Kai negate here. Great in the meta at the moment. She's live turn 2, so if you or your opponent has 3 or more cards in the warp, we do. She becomes a 1 cost. You negate the attack, and auto, if she hits the board, she'll remove one of your opponent's battle cards to the warp, comes back at the end of the turn with skills negated. So sounds good already. Can get you out of a single attack, or a dual attacker can warp something else when something swings. The main reason she's great in the current format, secret rares, they've errated all of the ultimates to mean if they remove from the game, they are gone completely. So you can warp a secret rare and it never comes back. You can warp blockers or tokens, they never come back. Or you can warp the new Z battle cards and they never come back. So a lot of the time she's 1 energy removal now. 3 of our token blocker. So this negate, again, if you're at 5 or less life, take life, free, gives you the token blocker. You're starting life really high. Sitting down at 4 is probably pretty safe. Even 3 in this deck is pretty safe. So having a few copies of this is handy. We're only running, again, total 6 negates in the whole deck. But that is enough for the current meta. Again, you are getting access to a few free blockers and stuff as well, like Tag Team Gohan. Really old card, still great today. This has been great for ages, just format dependent. It's a little bit rougher into red with Yamcha existing, but if one of your black battle cards is removed by a skill, your skill, opponent's skill, overwhelm, neg, doesn't matter, he comes into play for free. He's a blocker or he's a beater. Just good free value. To go with that, our new Dark Broly Overwhelm. So this one comes down, free Overwhelm, 6, warps a battle card, anything, as long as it doesn't have barrier. 0 combo cost sucks, but that's right, you can pitch it from your hand when you swing. Big thing though, the activate main, tap 2, play it from your warp, still does the same thing, warps a battle card on play. However, now has synergy with our Kai Unison, because you're still playing a card from the warp, you're getting that draw and the uptick on the Kai Unison, or you are activating that in combination with your red Broly. So either overwhelming or tapping 2 for it. Tapping 2 for this Broly. If your opponent either doesn't have any battle cards in the drop or doesn't have any battle cards in play, he's pretty much always going to proc. They have to crit a life and you restand on top of the Broly, which is fantastic. So you get another swing. Just good synergy to have with the deck. Moving along, another small boss monster for the deck. You've got your Gogeta, the new red-black card. The only condition to playing him is being a red or black Saiyan and having 3 or more red or black Saiyans in your energy or in play, which you should be doing fine because again, we're 50 out of 60 Saiyans in this deck. 3 energy, deflect, coming down, warping a battle card from your opponent's hand, or sorry, any card from your opponent's hand, giving your leader a bean until the end of your opponent's turn, and he's a double strike. Great value. The big thing here though, it's negging 2 of your opponent's battle cards 30k. The reason that's relevant for us at the moment, it hits indestructible, like your Zamasu's in green or yellow, and it kills cards that can't be placed in the drop by effects or can't be KO'd, etc. Negging, at the end of the day, is the game mechanic. When it hits 0, it has to be placed in the drop, so you get around some of those pesky card effects. 2 of your Tenacious Bardock, another good overwhelm. Doesn't come up as much early game, but late game, just buying yourself almost an entire turn with this is great. Tapping 1, it's another overwhelm 6, so we're pretty much always playing overwhelm 6s in this deck. There's no lower overwhelms. Your trunk sets them up perfectly though. On play, this one has an auto. Your opponent can't attack next turn with more than 1 battle card, or it doesn't have more than 1 battle card swing. You can't activate this back to back, that's why there's only 2 copies, same as Meki Kabura. But again, just getting yourself that and the beater, why not for 1 energy? You can combine it with a Kai negate or one of your blockers, having a good time. Going on to our 1-drop, 1-ofs, you have our Gogeta. Being at 1 doesn't completely hinder the card, but it means it has to not be in your life. If you mill it from your deck, you can grab it back with Goku. It's a good card at 1. I think it's fine at a limit 1. I feel like the barrier 1 can come back. Even if they want to get rid of this one at the end of the day, it's fine. Black's doing okay without it. One of your brainwashed cards. Again, it's a Saiyan, so it doesn't hurt being in the deck, but if your opponent gets greedy with the doubles or the triples near the end of the game, you have it in hand, you can tap 1, or you can just grab it back with the Goku Overwhelm to show your opponent you can't double me to death, and your Pan Secret Rare. I do think Pan's starting to slow down in relevance a little bit. Unisons are pretty strong, leaders are pretty strong at the moment. The main reason I'm running her as the secret rare for the deck is because she's a Saiyan. If I didn't have the leader stipulation of Awakening with 5 Saiyans in the warp, I'd be going for Supreme Kai Brainwashed instead. I just like that she pretty much entirely buys you a turn. But Pan does still come in with relevance. Again, the Saiyan tag's the big thing though. Moving on to your Z deck and your side deck options. So Vegeta, can run as many copies of some of these cards in the Z deck as you want, mix with it yourself, but Vegeta coming down, if you have a Z energy, sack that off and pay 1. Bottom deck a card from your hand, take up to 1 life and then draw a card. You are starting with really high life, so you can afford to take the life. Good cycle piece, again, can be another trigger for Pan, so you have your 4 battle cards on board. But realistically, it's one of the only black cards, and that's why we're running it. The other one, again, work with ratios yourself, but Demigra, not too bad, has some synergy with this deck, but really, the lack of deflect and barrier kills this card when pretty much all the other relevant colors have deflect and barrier. He's not bad if you've got nothing else to do for the turn though. 3Z energy does hurt, 2 energy is not too bad. You don't really combo really too much in this deck, so it can hurt to get the 3. However, going into his skills, he's unique, can't play more than 1. Permanent, he gets 2000 power for each of your Z energy. Again, not too relevant because we don't combo too much. But the auto, when you either play a battle card from your warp, which we are doing quite a lot, or you overwhelm, again, we're doing every now and then, you're drawing a card and warping one of your opponent's battle cards 5 or less. So in combination with, for example, the Dark Broly overwhelm, You can activate this, tap 2 to play it. Overwhelm your Broly, you warp any one of their battle cards, you draw a card, warp another 5 or less, and then your Kai effect triggers, your Unison, because you played the Broly, you draw another card. So again, good synergy with this deck. Just not having Deflect or Barrier kills it because pretty much every counterplay destroys it. Moving on though from the Z deck into your side deck options. These ones do hurt a bit. Again, not being a Saiyan, anytime you mess with the count, you'll find you're probably not awakening as efficiently. However, some necessary cards. Petrification, you'd probably be siding out either the token negate or the Kai negate, depending on when this comes in more relevant. So you should still have the 10 Saiyans in the deck, 10 non-Saiyans. Still a great negate though, everyone knows what Petrification does now. Moving on, you've got your 2 Mechikabura. Always going to vouch for this being one of the best side deck cards in the game if you know the meta. At the moment, probably calling your Gogeta GT 8, or you can call the Sin Shenron GT if you want as well. Just good for buying you another turn a lot of the time. Moving on from those though, you have 2 of your Saiyan Shield Son Gohan. Main reason he's in there, again, Saiyan, common theme. But either counterplay or counter attack, he comes down for 3 energy, which is a bit rough. If he was 2, be perfect, I'd be maining this card. But it's got deflect, can't be hit. Auto, when he comes down, you burst 5. For the duration of the turn, you can't take more than 1 damage from doubles, triples, or quads. Big thing for this one at the moment, if you are playing against a red Gogeta player, SS4 Goku Vegeta, if you can afford to leave the 3 energy up, you can respond with this to the crown or anything else. You're not going to take much damage for the turn. Again, you can still take singles, but this will get around the, what's the name of the 8-drop Gogeta Triumphant together? Because you're not targeting the Gogeta, you're targeting yourself and your opponent as players. 2 of this really old Godly Aptitude Goku. The main reason he's in here, again, he is searchable off that 1-drop because he's a Saiyan and he's 4. But he's going to kill Black Mask Saiyan. There's a few other 1-drops that are pesky in the game, but BMS hits this deck super hard if your opponent is going first. If they go first, slam down a BMS, you can't play any of your Gotens or Gohans from the warp unless you ditch 2, which is really painful to awaken. So he's there to get that one out of the way. Cheap, easy removal. He's not interactable either because he goes straight from hand to drop. 3 BMS ourself. Always been a great sideboard card. Never know when it'll come up. Good against some small rogue things like AOD, but not terrible against Sin Shenron or other decks playing stuff off the Gogeta Unison either. 3 Koetsukai. Again, punish decks that are trying to play the game on your turn. Always a good sideboard card. Really just generic stuff at the moment. Again, non-Saiyan though, so be careful when signing it in. And Jiren, because we don't want to lose to Turning the Tide. Really, that's all there is to the deck. Again, those play lines though, just to go through it quickly, you should be aiming for Goten or Trunks turn 1. Your Kai Unison turn 2. Followed by another one of these, so you can draw an uptick. Your God Trunks turn 3. Followed by any Overrealm of your choice, whatever it may be. The Goku, the Vegeta, even the Bardock. And then from there on, you just play reactively a bit. Try and push through damage as much as you can, but you should have a huge hand in this deck. It's one of the only black decks I've found to have a hand more than probably 10 cards consistently. Give this one a go though. It is a fun deck. See how you go with your locals.